Now, in 2017, they collateralized these levies, and then on the basis of that, floated bonds. I think they managed to collect about 8 billion Ghana cedis. Now, let's recall, and we need to recall, that when Dr. His Excellency was about, made that famous statement that you can do all the propaganda you want. If the exchange rate, if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. At that time, the $1 was to about 3 point something cedis. Now, in 2017, the debts in our, or when we started this program, I think the debts in our power sector was about 2 billion. I stand to be corrected once again. It was about 2 billion. Now, 2 billion in cedi terms at that time was roughly about 7 point something billion. In 2017, the dollar was about, the cedi was about 4 point something. They raised about 3 point, in fact, by 2020, when the dollar was holding around 5 point something, the amount of money the ESLA would have given us would be somewhere in the region of about 15 million, and so about 3 billion. You understand? You see, sometimes we need to get the figures. I think it's a figures game. So there's no ambiguity, no confusion. So by 2020, they had managed to raise somewhere in the region approximately about 15 billion in dollar terms, about $3 billion to tackle a 2 billion problem. We also need to recall that, that when they floated the bonds, they managed to raise about 8 billion from the ESLA bonds. So that was about 2 billion. And so in effect, really, if the focus was to deal with the legacy debts, they've had the resources to do same. Now, in 2018, they initiated what we call the Energy Sector Recovery Program. What was the Energy Sector Recovery Program supposed to do, and what was their target? It was supposed to do with the problems Dr. Donko is talking about, the technical problems, the commercial problems, the so-called issues. And I think after that Energy Sector Recovery Program, they did that mechanism, that was called payment mechanism, what was it called? Waterfall payment mechanism. Cash waterfall mechanism. And so that bowl into which all money is raised will be collected, and then they'll be paid their own formula. You understand? They claim that they're also going to. That was a period when we came here. One of the key issues we kept on hammering on was the pay or collect. And NDC have gone and was negotiated some crazy what's called, and so they said they were going to renegotiate. It was all part of the objectives of the Energy Sector Recovery Program. And then they said that by 2023, after when they roll out the actions flowing from the Energy Sector Recovery Program, by 2023, the focus and purpose of that program, which was to ensure that we will have the energy sector will be sustainable, it will be financially viable, it will be attained by 2023. What that meant was that by 2023, we shouldn't be in debt. It was essentially the energy sector should be debt free, and when it comes to the cost of producing the energy, it should be less than the revenue generated from the production and sale of energy. That was the purpose of the program, and those programs were led and pushed, and all the monies I'm talking about were collected by Nana Akufo-Addo, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, and his government. They benefited from this 33 billion. After 2020, in dollar terms, it was more than 3 billion to tackle debts of about 2 billion. They raised ESLA bonds, 8 billion ESLA bonds. They were supposed to tackle what's called the same 2 billion issue. You understand? And Don mentioned what's called the exchange rate as an issue, and because of their bad management of the economy, the exchange rate jumped to about 17 cedis, ballooning the debts. So on what basis? Even before I go on to two of the basis, so all this their negligence, lack of commitment, lack of leadership, this wicked leadership Nana and his people gave us, put Ghana in the position where after 10 years we found ourselves in a worse situation than we were before the famous Dumso. We found ourselves in a worse situation before the famous. So one day, when they collected the monies, what did they use the money for? They claimed they used the money for some lightning issues. Accra and Ghana is so dark. It's like we are in the dark ages. So those lightning, they claim they use it for. They said they claim they use it for infrastructure, road infrastructure. So you take money that you are going to use it for this purpose, for sorting out what's called legacy debt issues. One, we still find ourselves in debt. So you collect the money, we still find ourselves in debt. You claim you use the money for some lighting, we don't see any light. Sometimes if you see light, maybe they claim they use it for some infrastructure. Our roads are so terrible that as in we have a massive infrastructure deficit in this country. So where did the monies go? You understand? And two, in spite of the beautiful what's called program you yourself in your energy sector recovery program identified and said you were going to roll them out, and that if you roll them out by 2023 will be financially, that sector will be financially viable, so no debt. So if we find ourselves in that debt, wouldn't it have been proper if the MPs go to parliament in sackcloth and put ashes on their hair and cry and wail and beg God and Ghana for forgiveness, instead of having the balls that I don't know where that moral courage is coming from? To do what? After you've placed us in this position, to do what? You see, it's time for politicians to be serious. You see, it's time for, and that's why I keep on calling for that right political culture. Because if you have the right political culture, where the people of Ghana understand that it's a duty to hold political leaders accountable, then they won't have that courage. They'll be scared to be opening their mouths when they essentially, in this energy crisis that we find ourselves in, you can't point your hands at anybody than Nana and his people. Lack of leadership, lack of commitment, and a fundamental dishonesty. See, I've said so many times, I don't even want to say it again, that for 8 years we gave powers to people who did not understand that sovereign power emanated from the people, and that the sole purpose for which you are going to use those powers should be to the interest of those people. That they use those powers for their parochial agenda as against the purpose of those powers. And so they didn't care about us. Play politics with it, give our jargons, doom CSA, and all those nonsense. And now we find ourselves in a worse situation than we were in 2025. Sorry, in 2015. Yeah, you understand? So they should pack themselves. But you see, having said that,